All right, everyone, this is 8 p.m. Eastern. Uh, so the purpose of tonight's session is to help you with the sentiment analysis tutorial and also mainly with assignment 3. So here is the agenda. We're gonna be talking about some do's and don'ts, common error, data load validation, some SQL refresher, and some of the troubleshooting, okay? Now, this is a reminder where to post stuff. So general questions go to the classroom, right? Confidential things about your grades and about any accommodations that you may need go to instructor. Assistance with DB2 service and etc. Right? All technical questions go to where? Salesforce, okay? Now, so that's good. I have to remind this. Please do not open any tickets with IBM. They're not going to help you with assignment. Do not deactivate your account. Do not update the R version in the RStudio environment on the cloud, please, please. Then do not confuse yourself. Do not add more than one DB2 service unless I tell you to. Do not install any packages without checking this TA. Then do not open the R in multiple browsers because you're going to have problems, right? You're going to consume too many hours. Avoid stopping the running data load. So if data is running, don't stop it because the cancellation generates multiple processes. Now, this one is tough, but please do not copy the code to Microsoft Word because the Word inserts some characters that are very hard to find and your code will stop working. There is no way to fix it. Sorry. The single quote is an example, right? Microsoft Word single quote. SQL breaks. It does not like that. Please use navigation menus when possible. Do not do browser back button. Do not exit by application. Do not exit R just by clicking the X button, right? You use Q command and then also make sure you stop all the runtime environments, okay? Now, please do not spend days on debugging something, ask for help. And also, before you upload the CSV file, please do not open it because it's gonna ruin the date format, okay? Now, okay, so this is a big picture of what's going on. You have the SQL file, right? Then you define a specific business problem. Like, for example, in this case, you're doing an airline review, right? For the sentiment analysis tutorial. But for the examples that I'm going to be doing it for you, it's going to be the hotel reviews. So I have a specific problem, right? You want to identify what it makes it negative review, what makes it positive, etc. You check the metadata, which is metadata. Well, first you load the data from CSV to DB2. You're gonna check to verify if the data was loaded, right, for any errors and issues. Then you're gonna check the table metadata. You're gonna check, make sure that the columns match whatever the columns are in CSV file, right? Then you're gonna use the SQL to analyze data, load data in R, you do analysis in R, and you're gonna interpret your findings. Very important to aim for a higher score on your assignment. You must interpret the findings, not just throw the result into the Word file, right? You want to explain what the result actually means. You do analysis, okay? And also you want to reflect on experiment limitations, all right? Now, so what is DB2 on cloud? It allows you a 200 megabyte data storage. It has some built-in analysis, right? You may use R with the data. Well, before you could read data straight in R. Well, not anymore. So that's why you're asked to upload the file into the project. It allows advanced processing. So basically, it does not require to load the entire data set in memory, right? Then it prefetches data. So, it just prefetches data before it's needed. no decompression required, and also it's a data skipping. Large chunk of data is skipped if they're not relevant to the query. Okay, so for example, if you pull in data on only positive reviews, negative will be skipped. Okay, so that has to do with execution a little bit. So what analysis can you do? You can do the trend analysis. You can do the term association analysis, decision trees, clustering, hierarchical clustering, network of term, or anything. But also the association rules are more on metadata, right? Data about the data. Then you can run some analysis in a database, and before at least you could connect the external application to the DB2. Not now, but in general, it used to be the case before. Okay. Now, another thing, it's important. If you delete the service, you will lose your work and it cannot be undone. So, but if you have to add the service again, you will need to reload the data again. But please do this. Make sure that you save all SQL code on your PC as well. Not only in the application, but also save the SQL code on your computer. Okay. Now, today I'm gonna be using the hotel data to do some to show you to do some demo. But if you were going to follow along when you watch this recording, you would have to make this column name adjustments as you load the data into the DB2, right? Remember, when you load the data, what you need to specify the source, right? You need to specify the source, which is a data file. You need to specify where you're loading the data, and then you address the column properties. You would have to make some changes. Well, this is some research, this is some troubleshooting that I did on my end. Unfortunately, DB2, when it determines data types, it looks at a certain number of first records. And it overlooks that some records that follow may have longer values. Okay, so if you don't make this change, then the load may fail. So I already figured out for you, right? So you see what I mean, right? So see this here, when you did this here data, right, on this page, here you select the file to load, right? Then you specify the table, and after that you get to the column markings place. You need to change those column width, right? Now going back. So I know that this is not an option. Usually when you finish loading data on a sunny day, you get this page. Yes, you do, usually. Something happened beyond our control, and this page is not loading. You're getting permission error. The permission error that you're actually getting has nothing to do with the load. The data still gets loaded. What it does prevent you is from seeing a page like this. So what you're gonna do is, don't panic. The data still loaded. You're gonna go to the load history over here, right? In the load history, you have some information on what happened, right? I know when you click on it, I get an error like this, right? I cannot open the details the way I used to be. I know that. But still, what you could do is you go back, or you have to close this error. See this, you go back, and this here will be sufficient enough for this time, okay? So see here, I loaded the hotel review data. It shows me my schema, right? This part is a schema name. What is a schema? Schema is it's your username, right? It's your database username. This is also called the schema. So, and this is very important. I need it, right, in order to run some of the queries. Okay, I need to know my schema name, and I'll show you why. For some of the queries that I'm going to run, right, to check the table metadata, I'm going to need to know what my schema name. So here, this is basically shows the proof, right? So your username, how many records loaded, how many rejected. I know that it would be better to see the date and times, but unfortunately, at the moment, this is not an option. Something happened. They changed some permissions, okay, but they did not fix all of the issues that it caused. But go in here and just take this screenshot of this. That will be sufficient for this time because we have no control over what they do, right? But Jesus, I got the error, but the data was still loaded as expected, okay? And another thing is that if I click on the tables, Jesus, I see that I have two tables. I click here, right? This is a table. I have airline sentiment and I have a hotel reviews. Jesus, I still see all my column lengths, everything matches whatever I specified. When I loaded data, I still see the data types. Nullable, it tells if the column may have missing values, which it does, right? And etc. So, oh, you can actually also view, you can also preview data, right? This is more details. You can do that, see? So just check whatever you can see, whatever it lets you see, all right? Now, we got that. Well, I know it's not now. What you're gonna do is this. It says to validate the data load programmatically. What does it mean to do something programmatically? It means by writing the code, right? So what you need to do is you're gonna go to the SQL, right? So this is a SQL. What is this? This is my schema name, right? So now what I'll do is I have this code here. So I'm gonna copy everything. This is for today. I'm gonna copy all the code here, paste. If I wanted to, I can save all my code in here, right? But again, you also want to have a copy on your hard drive because if this database, if this DB2 instance crashes and you have to delete it and add another one, you don't want to lose your work, right? Okay, so now what will this do here? This is a programmatic way to check how many rows were loaded in the table, right? Now I don't want to do run all. Ooh, I don't want to do run all. I only wanted to run this, and I'll tell you why it fails. I'll explain later. But I don't want to run all. I only wanted to run this query, right? Let's see. I have to select this, and there is an option to run selected. Here we go. So I have hotel review table. Let's see. Oh, okay. I made a mistake because this is when I created the table, I named it hotel reviews. Okay, so let's go back here. Data. Yes, that's probably what it is. So see this table, I named it hotel reviews. So what now I need to do is I need to go to my SQL and I need to change this. See, I need to change this and now it should work. Okay, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go run selected. Okay, so here it is. It worked, right? Here. It shows me the number of rows that were loaded in the table, in the hotel data table. See this? So this is one way to do, this is a programmatic load. Programmatic means what? By writing the code, right? Now, the next one is here, but what I need to do here is I need to change my schema name, right? What is my schema name? Is DPR, what? Oh, it's in here. It's a type of head feature. So this is the system tables is a metadata table. That table stores the information about tables that were created, okay? So I'm gonna run it and I'm gonna see, I'm gonna do run selected. What will this return? See this? I'm gonna click on this. I have to click on this to see the output. What did it do? It says that I have two tables, airline sentiment and hotel review, and it's showing me what I asked. It's showing me creator, which is me. This is a time, and this is how many columns. In this specific case, it's going to show the column count, not the number of rows, but column count. One thing to remember is that the metadata about tables, such as column names, table name, is stored in the uppercase. Okay, the metadata is stored in the uppercase. Now here I have to go and edit everywhere because I spelled the table differently from what it is in here. And see, so this is another table. This is called system columns. It stores the information about table columns, including the column name, table name, who created the table, column data type, if you can put missing values in the column, and links. So I'm just gonna run this one now. So remember this, a lot of people make this mistake. Programmatic load validation, right? It's not select star because you cannot compare every single row this table here with every single row in your CSV file, right? That's not how we validate large data loads. See? So this is just showing you it's for hotel reviews table. So those are the columns, right? Table name, the creator, column data type, nodes, and links. There are actually more information that is stored in this table, but because you're not the DBST major, because you are data analytics, so we only care about this, okay? We don't care about the storage type because you're not a DBST, okay? Now, this is system columns table, remember that. So programmatic load validation, we want to see this queries, okay? But of course, for your table name, which is gonna be in assignment 3, right? Now I have to go everywhere and fix the table name, but that's okay. Now we're gonna get to the queries now shortly. But see, this is what happens is if you are loaded the table incorrectly, right? If you loaded the table incorrectly, you have several options when you load data. You can overwrite the table with new data. You can append data, right? So suppose that I loaded. Well, first of all, let's do the save. I'm gonna save it, and I'm gonna put it as what do you call it, demo, right? I'm gonna save it. It did not save on my computer. It saved it on the server, right? But for right now, I did it this way. Now let's take a look at this. Suppose that I'm unhappy, right? Is what I did. Go into the data. So suppose that I'm unhappy, right? I have a table, but I did something wrong. Well, I'm not gonna actually delete it, but I'll show you what you could do to redo, right? So you could go to tables and you see this? I can select hotel reviews, right? So this is a properties, right? That's table properties. Doesn't here, but in here there is an option to drop the table. See this? I don't want to do it, but in general, if you were going to start all over, you have an option to drop the table, okay? And then you will reduce the load. That's one way. Another way is that if suppose the table structure is correct, but you just want to reload again, when you load the data, you have several options. So like see here, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna pick hotel reviews, right? Now I'm gonna go next, and this is my schema. Then in here, when I select hotel reviews table, I have an option. I can overwrite existing data or I can append data, right? So just know it. There are two options, okay? I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna click on back. Okay, so just know it. There are two options. You cannot replace a portion of data, either the whole thing or append. Okay. Now, next thing is, well, this is just, I'm showing you how to drop, right? You would need to click on tables and drop. Okay. It's not delete table, it's drop table. Use the correct terminology. Okay, but then, see, there's a difference between delete and drop. Drop table will remove the table completely, right? It will remove the table completely, table structure and all the data that it takes. Delete will delete all data from the table, okay? But it does not reclaim the space, but it just deletes. Truncate will keep the table structure, but will delete all data and also reclaim the space. So just know that, okay? You can run this programmatically. You can run this statement programmatically, and it will remove all data from the hotel table. I'm just giving you how to do it programmatically. Just by writing the code, you're just gonna run truncate table, put table name, and put the word immediate. So what that will do is it removes the table, and it will also free up all the space the table occupied. Okay, so just know it. Drop will get rid of the table, the whole structure. Here, it will just delete table row. It doesn't delete the table itself. Truncate just removes the rows. Table structure stays. Delete just deletes the data, but does not reclaim the space. Okay, this is an interview question. Difference between delete, truncate, and drop. Okay, just know that one. All right. So this is how you drop table programmatically. You just run this code. Drop table hotel review. You drop it and then you can reload, recreate it. Well, I have to tell you that. Okay. So this is what you will have to do. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see the details of the load, but you can return to the data. You're gonna go data, click on the load history, and those are the entries. So for your assignment 3, you'll have to do the same thing. I know you're gonna get an error. Give it a few minutes, then go to the load history and take a screenshot of whatever that shows, right? You should see the file name, right? You should also see the your schema, how many records loaded, how many rejected. There should be nothing rejected if you follow the instructions, okay? Now, well, all of you like the SQL, right? Well, this is just a reminder. The SQL statement has select clause. In select clause, you put the comma delimited list of columns that we want in the output. From clause specifies from which table or from which view you are selecting the data. Where condition filters the rows. Okay, like for example, I want to pull people from specific hotels, so where hotel name equals something, right? Group by, if you specify how you want to group the data. Well, maybe typical example would be the average grade, perhaps, right? That's an example. I want to see the average assignment grade, right? So I'm going to be grouping by what? Assignment name, right? Something like that. Having, it's gonna remove the subsets of groups. Like for example, suppose that I calculate the average grade for each assignment, and I want to list the assignment only where a student got 90 or above average. The average grade is 90 or above. So here I'm not filtering individual rows, I'm filtering groups, right? So just remember this. Having clause is for filtering groups. You want to list only assignments and average scores that are above 90. Well, something like that, right? Order by will sort the data. It shows in which order the records appear. Good interview question. The select statement must have at least what? Select and from clause. If it does not have select and from clause, it's not going to run. You must specify what you are pulling and from where you're pulling it from. Okay. Then remember the spelling of the table names and table column names must match whatever is in the database. I got an error when I first started because I realized that I was plural. I called the table name hotel reviews, right? Instead of hotel review. I could go in and rename the table, but I chose to just edit the code. That's what I'll do. Okay. Just remember this part of the SQL statement, and they must be in this order. All right. Now, this one is a SQL statement can have multiple conditions in a where clause. But let's go back here. Let's go back to the SQL tab. Okay, so here I have the table with what? Hotel reviews, with reviews text. And what I want to do is I want to pull all reviews where the rating is neutral, and I want to look at the username contains the traveler. So there are two conditions, and I specify with the end clause. This like is called pattern matching. This means any number of any characters and any number of any characters. But why am I taking it to the uppercase? Because it's case sensitive. I want to match it regardless of the case. Traveler could be in the lowercase or it could be in the uppercase, right? So I don't care. And I want to just do this, right? I'm going to do run selected, and see this is the one. I can click here and I see the output. There are 5 pages in this case, but you got an idea, right? You got an idea. Now, and the hotel review is neutral. Well, what I could do is it would help to add this column to the output. It would help to add this column because you want to make sure that your query is actually working as intended, right? So let's do it this way. I'm going to do run selected because, well, when you validate the work, if you see the review rating not neutral in here, if you see something like positive, it means that your query is not working and you need to go back and fix it, okay? So I just added the review rating column just for checking. All right, so when you run the queries for assignment 3, and also when you do ungraded exercises for this assignment, you want to make sure that your query returns what it's meant to be returned. So sometimes, how can you validate that this is correct? Well, you want to check the review ratings, right? Make sure that you don't have anything other than neutral. Then you probably want to pull this username just to make sure that it contains the word traveler, okay? Those are just some checks that you can do on your end, okay? Save, replace. Okay, I just saved what I changed. Oh, you want to look at the distinct sentiment values because, well, in your sentiment analysis tutorial, the sentiment values are just positive, negative, neutral, but sometimes there could be more than 3. There could be slightly positive, slightly negative, right? So you want to make sure that you know which values you have. So I'm just going to do run selected, and then I'm going to look, hotels, hotel reviews, sorry. Now I have to be editing all code because I was not careful when I named the table, but that's okay. Run selected. Okay, so I'm going to look at this. See this? In this particular example, I have 5 different. Oh, and what is this? Take a look at this. I have a blank line in here. That means that some of my reviews have not been rated, right? I have missing data. So I have several options in here. I can treat my missing values as unknown, or I can omit these rows from analysis, right? So I have to decide in here. So basically, this is one of my drawbacks of the study, is that I had some records where review rating was not specified. I had some missing data, right? So there are some reviews where sentiment is not known. See this? Because see here, I got the no, right? This is null. It means that somewhere I have rows where we don't know. Okay, now what you could do here, you want to count the number of rows which is with each value, right? Each value. So I'm gonna go run selected. Okay, and again, I forgot to rename the table. Yes. Okay, this is correct. Now I'm gonna run it again. Run selected, no worries. I'm running it again. And I'm gonna click on this here. Well, do you see that? Well, it still shows 0 because, well, now see here, it's giving me, I'm trying to count how many ranges, but see the problem is here, it's ignoring the missing values. See, when I do this, it ignores the missing values. That's why it's 0. But I'm just doing the number of records. I'm counting the number of records per sentiment values. But in order to get this, well, there's another way to do it. I can do this. I can check how many records I have where the value, the review rating is null. So this is one way to do this. I want to check how many are missing. I'm going to go run, select it, right? So this is one way. I know that I have 80 rows. I have 80 rows where the rating is missing, right? But see the problem here. When I go count, when I specify specific column name, right? It's gonna ignore the missing values. This is why I was not getting what I wanted. Now I know that there are 80. How can I fix this query to return the count of missing values? Oh well, what I could do is I can use NVL function because I want to count my missing values as unknown, right? So I coded it as unknown, and then I'm just gonna do count one, something like that, right? So let's see what it's gonna do. Instead of specifying the column name in here, I'll just put count one. So this is what it's gonna do, and instead of displaying the missing row, I put the unknown, right? So let's see what happens. Oh, again, reviews. Okay, so run selected, and I'm gonna check that. Do you see that? Now it's gonna be showing 80. Another thing you could do is you could put this here and NVL unknown instead of 1 in here. Well, because the thing is, look, there is a difference between count star and count specific column name. Because when you specify specific column names, the count is gonna ignore missing values. You can put it like this. This is fine. That should do it. Count star should do it too. Or you can take this here and substitute instead of 1. Okay, but we want to always check for missing values. And I picked this example intentionally because somewhere in your assignment 3 data, there are missing values also. So I want to check how many records are missing. So I have several options for the rest of the analysis. And you need to specify what option you're taking. You can eliminate unknowns together, or you can treat them as a separate category, like I'm doing here, right? Now, this is important query. And let's see if we get there in the slides. Okay, this is important query. I want to know how many times my hotel is mentioned, right? So what is a grouping column? Hotel name, right? Times mentioned is gonna list what, how many times each hotel was mentioned. But I still have to make some decisions here, right? Because there could be some rows where a hotel name is not specified, but well, let's see what happens. So there is a column called categories, right? And I selected hotel because there's a lot of stuff in the data and I want to focus on the hotels. So let's go back. to this thing here. Oops. Let's go back to the query. Okay. And because I messed up the table name, I have to edit it. Okay, now, how many times each hotel is mentioned? Well, remember that you know how to do that, right? I'm gonna do run selected. Well, this is very important query for the next assignment, but you're not gonna have hotel data, you're gonna have something else. But if I want to know how many times each hotel is mentioned, what is this? This is just a count. Okay? So see this, it lists in the hotel names and how many reviews are there for that hotel. All right. So in this case, there are no missing names, right? So we got that part. Now it's gonna be a little bit harder. Okay. But here, well, not quite harder, but I want to list only hotels that were mentioned certain number of times, right? So instead of 400, let's do 100 actually. Okay, I want to list how many hotels were mentioned more than 100 times. How do I do it? Any idea of how do I do it? Well, first of all, what do? I need to know how many times they were mentioned. So what I do is I take this query up here and I copy it, right? But what do I do? Do I use a where clause or do I use the having clause? Having, because I want to eliminate these rows, right? I want to display only hotels that were mentioned 100 or more times. I'm eliminating not individual hotels. I'm eliminating this, right? So let's see, let's run this, run selected. Okay. And I'm gonna go here and see, so you know, it only kept these 4 hotels, right? I checked how many were mentioned at least 100 times, and it just kept these 4, right? So it eliminates the groups. Just remember, this is also a good interview question. Difference between where clause and a having clause. All right. Now here, this is just showing how many times each sentiment is mentioned. But again, remember that there are several ways to skip to handle missing values. We have missing values. So in here, I'm gonna check, this is one way. I want to just say where review rating is not null. I want to skip the rows where the rating is not available. I'm gonna do run selected and I'm gonna go here to see this. This is a number of rows that have each sentiment values, right? And you need to know what your sentiment value is, okay? You just need to know that. Now, another thing is this. Look at what I'm doing here. Instead of count 1, I just take this, right? And I'm gonna treat this missing value as unknown, right? And I'm gonna count how many, here I want to count how many times each hotel was is mentioned, but in this specific case, I want to include the missing values, right? And I want to treat this sentiment as unknown. And again, this, see? So I should have been careful when I loaded the table, but that's okay. Now, see this? If I click here, I should also have the unknown. Here it is. Oh, because I didn't specify how I wanted to sort, an unknown first letter is an uppercase. That's why I put it like this. But it does not matter, you just know it, okay? Just know there are 2 ways to handle missing values, and you want to specify in the paper what you're doing. Okay, here it comes. This is going to be fun. I want to list each hotel once, right? So let's look at this query. So this is just what we looked at. I want to do something fun here. Well, this is the whole idea. This is what I want to do here, and let me see if I can zoom in. This is important. I want to list each hotel once, and in that row, I want to specify how many ratings are positive, how many slightly positive, how many neutral, slightly negative, negative, unknown, and total. I don't want to have 7 rows, right, per hotel. I want to have 1 row, and I want to list the columns like this. Remember, this falls back to your ungraded exercise in a Spark tutorial assignment, right? But you also have similar ungraded exercise in a sentiment analysis tutorial. But watch out, there's going to be something graded in the next assignment, right? Like here in this data, for example, I want to list the hotel name, and I want to list one row, and I want to list how many reviews are for each sentiment value. I want to see only 1 row. So how do you do it? Well, there is a preparation step. You want to treat all of these columns as a dummy column, right? So first of, well, this is a final query, right? You want to do for the first column, how are you going to know? You're gonna take this, the case statement. If the review rating is positive, then you're gonna treat it as 1. If it's negative, then you're gonna treat it as 0, and you take a sum. You see what I'm saying? So because this whole query, right, this is a preparation. This is a preparation. You can treat it like this. You can create dummy columns, and let me run this query here first. So I'm gonna go, hotel reviews. Okay, so I'm just gonna run this query first, and let's see what I'm doing. For each hotel, I can create dummy columns here. Run selected, look here. So for each hotel, I create a dummy column in here. So basically, I look at the first record, right? If the record is positive, then I set the first column to 1, the rest of it as 0, okay? Then there is another record. In that record, the review is neutral, so the third column is set to a 1. See this? This is what it's doing in here. This is just a preparation query. It's looking at the record, and it's saying, okay, if it's a 1, right? If it's a positive, then the first column set to 1. Otherwise, it's set to 0. If it's a slightly positive, first column set to 1. Second column, sorry, set to 1. Otherwise, it's 0. So for each row, it's creating the dummy column in here. Okay. So if this is a neutral, then the third column will be set to 1. Okay. If it's a slightly negative, the next column is set to 1. So for each column, you have a case statement. Remember, you can have case statements inside the select clause. All right, and then you're also looking at the unknown. So if this is null, then it's a 1, otherwise it's a 0. So this is a preparation. You're creating like a dummy columns, right? What you could do is you can take this query as a view, right? And you can select from this query. We're going to talk about subqueries. Or what you could do is just do this. You can put a sum. What sum will do is it will take each of these columns and sum them up, right? But again, I'm going to be grouping on what? On the name, hotel name, right? And then for each of these, I'm taking a sum. Okay. Now, so you're gonna do this, run, select this query, and I'll show you what you need to look for. And again, this is run selected. Oh, and again, I made a mistake. Reviews, okay. Hotel reviews. I'm just gonna go in here. So this is my final query, and I'm gonna run this. Run, selected. Okay, there we go. So what do I see in here? I have 1 line per hotel, right? And here it just how many positive, slightly negative, neutral, and etc. Right? I have this. And the last column is what? The total. So one thing that you need to watch out for is that you want to make sure that the sum of these guys here equals to the total. If not, then you need to go back and check your query is wrong. So the sum of these columns equal this, okay? Then before you had another query that returned how many times each hotel is mentioned. So you want to make sure that this total here matches how many times each hotel is mentioned, right? It should match the results returned by the query before, where you looked at how many times each hotel was mentioned, right? So if they don't match, it means something is wrong, okay? So this total here must match the totals of the other query, where you returned how many times each hotel was mentioned, okay? So pay attention, because here it's hotel. Your assignment 3 is going to have something different, but it's going to be a query like this, okay? All right. But again, this is just showing the problem when review rating is null, see? This is just the problem. If review rating is null, it's just going to return blank. So you have to basically do that to work around, right? Okay, another thing is, see this, so you need to know how many rows, right? One row per hotel. Make sure that if you see 2 rows and something is wrong. Another thing is that the sorting nulls last. It means that if hotel name is unknown, I want to list it at the end. That's what it does. Okay, nulls last. If it's a null, I want to list all nulls, all missing values at the end. Okay, and then I put uppercase because I want the sorting to be case insensitive. Okay. Well, this is just repeats problem with nulls. Now, you can also have select statement with 2 grouping columns. Do you remember you had ungraded exercise, right? In a past assignment. But here, in this case, I want to list the province, and I want to list the review rating, and I want to list the count. So I'm selecting from hotel reviews table, but in this specific case, what am I grouping by? Province and reviews rating, okay? Now, little secret in here. Well, see that those are the non-aggregate columns. This is the aggregate column. Every non-aggregated column in a select clause must be listed in a group by clause. If you do that, 99% of times your code will be correct. Okay. So these columns are non-grouping. They're non-aggregate, right? You list them in here. Okay. So this is a select statement with 2 grouping columns. Should be easy. Run selected, but some people need the review, so that's why I include example. So see this? In this case, I wanted to list like this, right? Now, we're going to go to the subqueries right now. So did that. What is a subquery? The subquery is a query inside the query. Pay attention. You have to write a query with a subquery for the assignment 3. A subquery may return one value, or it may return a list, or it may return a virtual table. You may place the subquery in a select from, where, and having clause of the main query. If any of you believe that you can put the subquery in a group by clause, I would like to see an example of that working. Okay, so just know, select from, where, and having. That's where you can put the subquery. For example, if the subquery returns one value, it goes to the where clause or having clause, right? Depending on what you're doing in your query. All right. Then sometimes a subquery can return the virtual table, which goes to the from clause. right? And we're gonna look at some examples now. But in this case, this is a values list subquery. So the queries return the provinces that do not have any positive ratings. See this? Well, but see this, the main query, it needs to return the provinces that do not have positive ratings. How do we do it? First of all, you need to get the list of provinces that have at least one positive rating. So this inner query gets the list of provinces that have positive rating. And this one, outer query is going to say province not in whatever this subquery selects, right? So this subquery selects provinces with positive rating. And in the outer query, you're going to say not in whatever got selected here. See, so this is the list, right? Well, this is a virtual table. So what you're doing in here, this subquery returns a table. It's going to return name, and a positive count, right? And then in here, you're just going to do the average number of positive counts. Jesus, so in here, well, we're looking at the average number of positive reviews per hotel, right? Average number of positive reviews per hotel. So what we do in here, we count how many reviews are per each hotel. In this inner query, it returns 2 columns. Then the outer query just aggregates it, see? Also, see that this is a virtual table. Inner query returns a little table, right? And I'll show you the queries too. This is more complicated, okay? What you're trying to do is you're trying to find the hotels that have above average number of positive posts, okay? So first thing, you want to figure out how many positive posts each hotel has, right? Which we did in the last one, right? We did in the last example here. You figured out how many positive reviews are per hotel. Then you took an average. So you know the average number of positive posts per hotel. Now we want to list the above average. Why do we put this in a having clause? Think about it. Well, because what? We are eliminating what? Not individual records. We are eliminating the counts, right? We are eliminating the hotel. See this? We're going to go look at the hotel and the positive count. And we eliminate the ones that have what? That we want to keep only the above average. So we want to eliminate the ones below average, right? Well, so see, this is a multiple steps. Here, we get average number of positive posts is 25. Well, so here you want to list only the ones above 25, right? So that goes to the having, and they're nested subqueries example, right? And I'll see if my code has it, I'll run it. Okay, so, but when you work on something like this, you want to split it. You want to work slowly, okay? You want to make sure that your well, first you want to make sure that you get the subquery to work, right? Like this is an example with the provinces, okay? Provinces that do not have any positive reviews. How are you going to do it? First of all, well, you want to make sure that you get the inner subquery, right? Hotel reviews. You want to get the inner subquery to work, and I'm going to just go run selected, right? So that's inner subquery, and you're going to select this, right? So you get a list of provinces where the reviews is positive. So you know this is working. Then you're gonna go put it here and you run this, okay? But now it's because I was not careful. I have to rename it everywhere. Okay? I renamed it everywhere. Okay? Now I'm gonna rerun it. So here, see this? I got this to work, right? how did I get this to work? First of all, I worked on the subquery, and then I worked on the main query. Okay. Now, okay, but I have to do all of this. I have to edit, so that's why I did not do. Okay. Well, this is the big subquery that I was showing you in the example over there. But again, in order to do this, to run it, I need to go ahead and edit the table name everywhere. Okay. Well, make sure that when you do this, you follow instructions for the table name, because otherwise your code is not going to work. You would have to go back and edit the table name. Okay. So this is a big here query, big monster query. Okay. And this it has the having clause. That's a query that I was just showing you in there. And what I'm doing, I'm trying to do correct indentation, so that way it's easier to read because you have multiple levels in here, right? These are the hotels, okay? Well, the thing is, what you also want to do is you want to check, so because you know that there are 25, right? If you see something here less than 25, then your query is incorrect. Okay, always check. You always want to check the data. Okay, and here. Now, next thing is, well, okay, very important. Same thing applies from assignment 2. When you run RStudio, if you're prompted to select the environment, probably not, but if you're prompted, make sure that you choose one that consumes only one capacity per hour. Do not select anything else, okay? Sometimes these options appear, sometimes they disappear. But you want to use the one that consumes only one. RStudio consumes only one capacity unit per hour, okay? Well, this one here, it will show you the disk utilization. If you have a lot of images, your disk utilization could go up. You want to delete the visualizations that you no longer use to reduce disk usage, okay? And RStudio, you don't use the one on your local PC. You use the RStudio that is on where? In IBM Cloud, right? So this was a project I created from last assignment, right? This was what you do. You launch RStudio from here, okay? This is what you do. And always, before you log out, you must go to here, and you must go to this here, administration, environmental runtimes, and make sure that nothing runs, okay? You go to environmental runtimes, and in here, you want to make sure that you don't have no active environments. If you do, you want to kill it. You want to stop it before you exit, okay? Before you exit, very important. You want to stop the active runtime environment. Now take a look at this. My hours were returned to 10. This time, all of your hours should be returned to 10, okay? Now, well, this is just how to exit RStudio properly. You want to go to those environments, and you want to make sure that nothing is running. There are several ways. You can go to the project where you launch the RStudio from, or you can just go to the what I just showed you. Okay? There should be nothing running. Make sure that. Well, this is just an advanced example. If you look at the R code that you're given, and please do this, if you're using the network of terms method, you want to look at these subgroups, okay? You want to look at the subgroups of terms. This is shows you which groups of terms appear together, okay? You want to make sure that you do this. Do not stop just at big visualization. If you're using this method, for assignment 3, you need to do which subterms appear together, right? Do not do the minimum. Just go a little bit beyond, and you're given this code, okay? Okay. Well, these are some of the issues. Uh, some people report they don't see the page to add credentials. That's because when you add the service, you have to add it from IBM Cloud. Do not add it from Cloud Pak Catalog, okay? You need to be on the IBM Cloud. Well, this is what's gonna happen in association rule method. You have several packages that have a function called inspect, association rules, and also the text analysis. If you have more than, if the function appears in more than one package, the solution is to qualify the function name with the package name. This is what I'm doing here. I want to specify that I'm calling the inspect from a rules package, so that's what I do, okay? Another problem is this error. It's because if I spell the column name incorrectly, you want to make sure that you spell the column names in the query correctly. And the same thing here. You want to make sure you spell the table names correctly, okay? So this is additional tips. You want to save all your work on the PC, go beyond example, and remember the best way to get started, you need to begin, okay? And you want to follow the instructions. So now it's time for, oh, this is just some additional useful arguments. Most of you know them. Okay, now the time for questions. Any questions, folks? Any questions? Anything you want to ask me? Professor Rozan, is there anything you want to add?
All good, Yelena. Thank you so much for the session.
Any questions? No?
No, all I just want to say is, like a Spark tutorial was the preparation for the assignment 2. Sentiment and analysis is the preparation for the assignment 3. So, I recommend everyone to take serious to this sentiment analysis, put the best effort so that this they can spend a much less time for the assignment 3. So if they can do better in this, it's going to be much better in the assignment 3. And thanks for the session, Ilana.
Oh, most welcome. All right, then I'll stop sharing and I end this recording.